All right, so starting with the land acknowledgement, Toronto is the dish with one spoon territory. The dish with one spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and the Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. All right, so congratulations. We're very excited that you've all received an offer for admissions in the next academic year. That's the 2021-22 academic year. It was quite competitive, so that you know that there's only have a limited number of spots. So again, congratulations, and we're looking forward to you joining us in the fall. All right, so this is Toronto. For those of you who don't know, this is a nice aerial view of part of campus. In the center there is the Kerr Hall Quad. Some other prominent features are the CN Tower in the sort of the back left-hand corner. Toronto is a very vibrant city. Okay, we have more languages spoken in Toronto than probably any other nation and city in the world. We have world-class art, cuisine, and cultural events that span almost every aspect of life in Toronto. So what we're trying to suggest to you is that being in Toronto is and at Ryerson is a cultural experience that we want you to have as well, and not just to come here for your scholastic academic purposes, but also for social and cultural purposes as well. All right, so just to give a brief introduction of our faculty and the organization of our faculty. So our dean is Dr. Tom Dewar, shown here. We have 4 associate deans. Okay, myself and Miliana is one for grad studies, and the other 3 associate deans are Dr. Feng, who's the associate dean of undergraduate programs and student affairs. We have Dr. Sri Krishnan, who is the associate dean of research and external partnerships, and we have Dr. Medhat Shahada, who's the associate dean of teaching and outreach. And this is the core administrative team, plus the associated staff members that provide the academic leadership for the faculty. So in terms of graduate studies, we have quite a diverse set of offerings. We have 11 distinct disciplines that we cater to, with a total of 27 programs. These span everything from Masters of Engineering, Masters of Applied Science, and PhDs in 11 different disciplines. We have 6 also research and innovation clusters and 4 zones. And the zones are incubator accelerator spaces for startup companies. And usually these are specific within certain fields or disciplines. All right, depending on what, if you're doing research and where you are in sort of the Ryerson ecosystem, you may interact quite heavily with one of these clusters or zones. Our total population of graduate students is in and about 1,100 students, which makes up about 38% of the total population. Sorry, it's 38%, of the total population of grad students studies on campus. So grad studies in general is probably about 10 to 15% of the total student population of the university. All right, so here are our graduate programs that we offered, set up by discipline, and the degrees that are offered within each of those disciplines shown in parentheses. So we have aerospace engineering, architecture, biomedical engineering, building science, chemical engineering, civil engineering, computer networks, electrical and computer engineering, energy and innovation, engineering, innovation and entrepreneurship, and mechanical industrial engineering. All right, so the Graduate Studies Office does not operate solely by its associate dean. There are very important staff members that make everything happen here. I want to point out Royal and Christine. So Royal is the senior manager for graduate engagement and operations, and Christine is our digital communications coordinator. And this team works diligently to make sure that all of our programs are operating smoothly. Also with all of our graduate program directors, who you'll meet soon enough, along with them with their graduate program administrators. So each program has its own director, academic director, and its own administrative staff. Okay, so at the faculty office, we deal with with issues relating to graduate studies in general within our faculties, and more sort of program specific stuff is dealt with the program director and the program administrator. All right, so all of grad studies for the entire university, we all belong to the Yates School of Graduate Studies, who the vice provost and dean is Dr. Corey Searcy. And just to give you a sense for the organizational structure, so at the dean's office, in the faculty, we take care of the programs. But the vice provost and dean of graduate studies for the university, Dr. Searcy, takes care of the whole graduate studies portfolio, which includes policy, strategies, oversight, quality control. This is where new programs get developed, things like this. Admissions also happens at the graduate school level, all right, and things like this. So they do a lot of some extracurricular programming, and it's more about policy and procedure at that level, where the specific day-to-day operations of your graduate program are dealt with within your program, okay? These are, so the dean, the vice provost and dean of graduate studies is, again, sort of more higher level administration. Okay, so there's been lots of questions regarding what is happening with COVID for the fall 2021 semester. All right, so our President Lashemi, made an announcement yesterday regarding the opening, or what's going to happen in fall 2021. What was mentioned was this fall period will be a transition, and we're going to try to increase the number of on-campus classes and activities in order to be prepared for a full return in January 2022, which is the winter semester of 2022. Okay, this is really important because if we're expected to have a full return to activities on campus in winter 2022, we really want to encourage all of you to be in Canada, in Toronto, for the start of the fall 2021 semester, irrespective of how that semester rolls out. And the reason is because once we move to winter 2022 with full opening, remote studying options, online classes, things like this will most probably be discontinued. So it's in everybody's interest, yours and ours, for you to come to Canada as soon as possible. And with that, the summer, I want to tell you, is probably one of the best. The summer and the fall are probably the best times of year in Toronto. And also too, if you're not aware, Ontario's opening plan, as we exit the pandemic, is starting actually as of tomorrow. So tomorrow will be the first day of our 3-stage opening plan. So by the time you get here, things will be, for the most part, back to normal. All right, so what are your options? Okay, so we do want you to come. Okay, so your options are to accept the offer and start your courses and research with the intent to come to Canada in fall 2021. And again, with the intention of trying everything you can to come to Canada for that semester. Okay, you can delay the start of your program by 1 semester to fall 2022. You will need program approval to proceed. Some programs, it's going to be a little more difficult to do this because of the way the programs are structured, such as architecture, building science, computer networks, and MEIE. All right, so a delayed start for those of you who are having trouble getting your study permits in place, or for instance, unanticipated issues like travel bans from certain countries. Okay, the things happen. We have to be able to navigate. So if it's going to be an issue, you can delay. All right. We are also allowing students to defer for a full academic year. Okay, this is, I would say we're allowing, it can happen. You also need program approval for a deferral, and under the circumstances with COVID and things that have sort of happened in the last 18 months, we will entertain deferrals. All right, and your last option, which we don't want you to do, is to decline the offer altogether. All right, so again, what do you need to make a decision? First is to stay informed. All right, keep in contact with your graduate program. All right, keep in contact and keep in contact with if you're an MASC or a PhD candidate, talk with your supervisor. okay? The graduate programs and faculty supervisors will have the most up-to-date information regarding what is happening for the rollout of the fall 2021 semester. All right, I want to be completely transparent with you. The things can rapidly change. So, you know, we're not expecting the case count to change in a drastic way, the wrong way, where our COVID case counts has been rapidly decreasing over the past few weeks, months, and we're at levels, I think, in about a year ago. Okay, so everything is looking positive, but we are at the, you know, we are under the discretion of the province and their health regulations. So we do have to abide by them, and so there is some stuff that's out of our control. All right, yeah, stay tuned also for messages from both the university and the graduate office of our faculty, and we'll communicate these messages regarding public health and provincial and federal governmental guidelines. Okay, international students, I know there's a bunch of you here today. Please keep in contact with the International Student Support Group, ISS, and they will actually be speaking later on in the second half of this presentation today. So, all right, if you want to accept the offer, okay, you need to pay your deposit, okay? And if you haven't paid your deposit, you need to know a few things here. First of all, the deposit is not an extra fee. It's just, it goes towards your fall tuition, okay? And the idea here is just so that we can do proper planning and with that. So again, this is not an extra fee. It's just paying a portion of your tuition before to secure your spot, okay? The deadline for your deposit is June the 15th, okay? If you need an extension, please ask your program, okay? But for the most part, try as possible to make that deadline. Okay, so in terms of your options before, of whether you accept the offer, defer, or delay, all right, at the end of the day, okay, if you're going to accept, you should pay your deposit. If you're going to defer or delay your start, no problem. Your deposit will be transferred to the semester of the academic term that you started. Okay, so there's no need to pay the deposit twice. We'll not ask you for a deposit twice. We'll just ask you to pay the deposit, even if you're going to defer or delay to secure your spot. And of course, if you're going to refuse the offer, then yeah, I guess there's no point in you paying your deposit because regrettably, deposits are non-refundable. So bear that in mind, please. All right. So if you're going to delay the start of your program, and again, this is a one semester delay to the winter of 2022. Please let your program know as soon as possible. Okay. And what they'll do is they'll reissue your offer for a new one for the appropriate term. Okay. All right. International students will need to unfortunately revise and potentially reapply for a new study permit because study permits are tied to your start date. Okay, so please keep that in mind. And more information about this will be given later on by the International Student Support, who will give you more sort of specific information for our international students. All right, so some of you might have conditions on your letters of offer. This is normal, okay? For instance, maybe you were granted admission before you completed your undergraduate degree. All right, so you need to clear your conditions before you can start. All right, so those of you who have conditions, all right, you need to talk to your graduate program admissions and confirm that they will be accepting or that these original documents, okay, to clear your conditions, okay. They'll not accept documents emailed by you, okay. It has to be done through the proper channels. All right, and the sooner the better. Now, the deadline, again, if you're coming for fall 2021, is in August. All right, so it's really important that you make the preparations and have the official transcripts, for instance, if that's what they're asking for, from your home in university or institution in order to clear your outstanding conditions for your offer. Because if they're not cleared, unfortunately, we can't have you start in that semester. Okay, we'll have to wait until the conditions are clear. Okay, so there might be some concern about, okay, if you delay or defer, what happens to your scholarship? Okay, so first of all, scholarships, there's a variety of different scholarships. Okay, so we have two classes of scholarships, internal scholarships and external scholarships. So internal scholarships, okay, there's a whole bunch of them depending, and it really depends on what program you're in. Okay, so for instance, the RGF, which is the Ryerson Graduate Fellowship, so we have the Ryerson International Student Support, we have the Ryerson Graduate Development Award, we have our own faculty has our own graduate scholarships, okay, versus external scholarships, things like OGS, which is the Ontario Graduate Scholarship. We have a Queen Elizabeth II, and there's also the what we call Tri-Council, the three major agencies, federal agencies that fund research. These are for the natural sciences and engineering, that's NSERC, for the health research, that's CHR, and for social sciences and humanities, that's the SHRC, SSHRC Council. Okay, these are all external awards. All right, so internal scholarships offers will be honored for delayed starts, okay, but will be adjusted accordingly. So if you're eligible for an RGF, for instance, at $9,000 a year, it would be split into $3,000 per term. And of course, if you started in winter 22, you're not going to receive the $3,000 for the fall 2021 semester. Okay. External scholarships, however, will be honored at the discretion of the agency that's providing the scholarship. So the way these work is that an external agency will have a competition for an award, and we as the institution will facilitate that for you and make sure that you get paid properly, but we have to follow their rules and guidelines. Okay, so again, because sort of the COVID pandemic has rapidly been changing things like this, we'll have to take a look at the specific regulations of that award. And in most cases, they're going to honor it. They might prorate it like we do for internal scholarships and things like this if you delay your start. All right, so research students, these are Masters of Applied Science and PhDs, okay, get stipends for doing research. Okay, and these stipends come from a variety of different sources. And also, so there's a portion that comes from the program and a portion that comes from your supervisor. And these usually come from your supervisor's research grants, all right, that they apply for. So your project or your research is often tied to this funding, okay? So you need to, and also with timelines too, because grant holders, faculty grant holders usually have milestones to make, progress reports, things like this, depending on where they've gotten the research support from. And they need to keep those milestones and timelines intact in order to maintain funding in some cases. So please be aware that if you're going to be funded through a research grant, which research students mostly are, that there might be considerations by the agency that provides those funds that will sort of dictate a little bit of how of your program. Again, so the best thing to do is really to check with your supervisor regarding this, because they'll have the specific information that you need. All right, so we have so graduate students can act as teaching assistants, graduate assistants. Okay, all right, so all the TAs, GAs, okay, at Ryerson are unionized. Okay, so there's a we call it QP3. It's the local union here that takes care of the TAs and the GAs, and because they're unionized, so the rate of pay is straightforward. You can go and we can direct you to the particular site where you get that information. But because of this, all students need to apply for teaching assistantships. Okay, that's part of the conditions of their collective agreement, so to allow all students the free ability to apply to any teaching position available, or teaching assistantship available. So each of the departments will post their available teaching assistant positions typically before the start of each semester. So it's up to you to be informed. Check periodically when these job openings are coming, and then make your applications accordingly. Okay, and again, this usually happens typically in the month, several weeks before the start of the semester. All right, so TA positions are available for international students only if they are in Canada. Okay, and this is a problem, an unanticipated problem we have of students that are remotely studying. Okay, because we can only issue a social insurance number, and this is a sort of a tax registry number that every individual who's employed in Canada needs to have one. Okay. For instance, you also need one to open up a bank account. Okay. So at the end of the day, we can't pay you unless you have a social insurance number. And the only way to get one is to be physically in the country. So this is a problem for paying stipends for students. It's a problem for paying for GA positions as well. Okay, so again, another reason why we really want you to come to Canada as soon as possible, so that we can facilitate the payment of your stipends and TA ships. Thank you for joining us today at the FEAS June Welcome. We hope that we were able to answer some of your questions. And also, we look forward to joining us and the grad community in the fall. And hopefully, we'll be able to meet you in person soon.